"What crime have you committed?" I asked. "None," she choked out, lungs recovering from her dash into the station. I frowned from behind the counter, readying myself for one of those nights, but it would be like no other night of my life. "Then why should I arrest you, ma'am?" The squirrely woman, catching her breath with hands against her knees, cranked her neck backwards so sharply that the joint popped. "Because," she said, taking a big inhale, "we're all in danger." Then her eyes began to ping frenetically between the station's entrance and me. I leant my elbows a little more deeply into the counter, pushing forwards to take a better peek at the building's automatic doors. There was nothing beyond the glass panes but the black of night and tarmac and silhouetted trees. "Is somebody following you?" I asked. She shook her bobblehead, making her neck pop another couple of times. I winced a little at the woman's frailty. She was slinging her skull around so violently that I started to wonder whether she wanted to launch it free, pitch the damn thing for 6. "No, I'm just checking," she whispered, coming closer. "That we're alone. Now, I'm an officer of the law. I've faced men and women with twice and thrice the stature of this meek, frightened woman, so I don't know quite how to explain how or why I felt such terror in that moment. I was chilled by the woman's breath, or the words carried on it. "There are 3 other officers at the station tonight," I croaked, before clearing my throat. "We're not alone." "Will those doors count?" she asked, shivering as she eyed the glass entrance again. "Count in what way?" I replied. "I need the smallest indoor space possible," she said. "He told me that I won't be able to exit a room or a building or a prison without spoken approval. He said I'd need permission to leave." "Who told you that?" I asked, befuddled. "I don't understand, ma'am. Explain what's happening." "Do I have to do something criminal?" the woman asked, shuddering. "You won't just arrest me?" "That's generally how it works," I replied. "I'm just a little concerned about why you want to be locked away this evening. Well, morning. I assume it has something to do with keeping yourself safe by getting off the street, given that you say you're in danger. However, jail cells aren't hotel rooms, so—" "I don't need to protect myself," she interjected with a hiss, wild eyes locking onto mine. "I need to protect all of you." "What's happening out here, Thatcher?" Officer Bowen asked as she emerged from the office behind me. I tried my damnedest not to gulp, but the unnerving woman was making it difficult for me. "This lady is asking to be arrested, but she says she hasn't committed a crime." Officer Bowen offered me a raised eyebrow, then put her hands on her hips as she looked at the woman. "What's your name, love?" "Tamsin," she said. "Please, will one of you lock me up? I need to be locked up. Something bad's about to happen." "What's about to happen, Tamsin?" asked Officer Bowen. "I don't know," the woman blubbered, placing her face in her hands. "It's inside me." Something about those words, and her tone of voice, instilled me with fear beyond anything words could describe. For it was a fear not of this world. Officer Bowen, on the other hand, seemed unamused. She leant towards my ear and whispered, "I think we need to get this lady some psychiatric help. She might be in danger," I whispered back as Tamsin continued to cry. "She might be," Officer Bowen agreed. "But that's for a healthcare professional to decide, don't you think? Not 2 police officers at 3 o'clock in the morning." I nodded, then spoke louder. "Tamsin, I'm going to leave you with Officer Bowen for a second whilst I make a call in the office. Okay?" Tamsin shot her head up from her hands as I rose from the swivel chair. "No, please, just arrest me. There isn't time for any of this." "I need you to relax, Tamsin," Bowen said as I started to walk towards the office. "We're going to help you, okay? We're going to figure out what's happening. Together." I shut the office door behind me, then made the call. The idea was to avoid potentially upsetting or aggravating the distressed civilian. Bowen and I had no idea how she would react to the arrival of a mental health specialist, so it seemed best to keep that information to ourselves. The office overlooked the main entrance through a horizontal one-way window, so I watched Bowen and Tamsin talk whilst the phone rang. And when I made it through to a specialist, I explained the whole situation to her. She said that Tamsin was in need of a proper health assessment. "I know it's late," I said, "so I'm happy to escort her to the hospital." And then came a voice not quite her own. "No, we'll escort you all." Before I managed to wrap my head around my unease at her sudden shift in vocal timbre, I clocked Tamsin smiling at me from the other side of the one-way window. She shouldn't have been able to see me, but I knew somehow that she could, and that filled me with terror. The grin on her face might have a thing to do with it too. Then the lights in the station cut out, and that came with a sharper pang of terror. The pain persisted afterwards, leaving me sitting in the dark, phone screen lighting my face, with an invisible blade lodged stubbornly between two bars of my ribcage. With the phone in my far from rigid hand, I rushed back out into the darkened area behind the counter, but Officer Bowen wasn't there. And when I shone my phone's torch beyond the counter, Tamsin wasn't there either. "Hello?" yelled a voice from down the corridor as fear started to grip me more tightly. A torch light bounced down a distant corridor, beyond the counter, painting the walls in light, offering only a slight reprieve from the suffocating darkness. Then came Officer Harling into the entryway. "Oh, Thatcher, thank God someone's here," he sighed, shining the torch beam onto me. "Looks like we've had a power cut." "There was a woman?" I whispered, leaning against the counter once again, this time for emotional support. I was terrified, and I still wasn't quite sure why. "She's gone now. Bowen's gone too." "Huh?" Harling asked, not catching my drift. "Gone? I don't know. Where's Rodman?" I asked. Harling shrugged. "You're the first person I've found. Maybe we should check the fuse box or call." He was interrupted by screaming, the voices of a man and a woman, from deeper within the station. "Bowen," I whispered. "Rodman," he added. I ran out from behind the counter and joined Officer Harling as we ran down a hallway that led into the heart of the station, desperate to locate the cries of our two fellow officers on the late-night shift with us. "This is Officer Harling," he panted as we ran down the corridor. "Requesting backup. Power cut at the station and potential disturbance." "Roger," came a garbled voice from the other end of his radio. We burst through double doors and found ourselves in the station's break room. There we witnessed a horror I will never forget. Officer Bowen and Officer Rodman were both lying on one of the tables, sawn neatly in half a little above each of their pelvic areas. The light of Harling's torch caught the sheen of the blood, and the table's laminated plastic top, and the whites of the victims' eyes. Their mouths hung open in the screams they had unleashed during those final seconds of life. I hoped, and still hope, their deaths were swift and relatively painless, but their expressions told another horrifying story, one that left me paralyzed in fear, vocal cords unable to expel a sound. Harling, on the other hand, screamed and rushed towards our severed officers, dropping his torch to the floor as he ran, plunging us back into darkness. I'd seen something for a moment at the back of the room. "Harling, pick the torch up," I begged, rummaging in my pocket for my phone. "They're gone," Harling sobbed. No longer the sturdy officer of the law I had known for 5 years, but a weeping mess. "Pick it up now, Harling," I insisted. I was a mess too, a jittery, terrified one. It wasn't sturdiness that kept me awake and alert. Wasn't my duty to the law. I need Harling to pick up his torch because we weren't alone in that room. There came the slaps of flesh against the floor, and I hurriedly activated my phone's torch. Harling was gone. Hello, I wheezed feebly, casting the torch around the room. Whoever's in here, reinforcements are on the way, so... Roger, crackled a distorted voice from some unseen radio. We'll escort you all. My stomach dropped as I realized that Harling's call hadn't made it through to anyone. That voice, inhuman and indistinct, did not belong to anyone or anything that wanted to help. It belonged to the voice I'd heard when I called the mental health care professional. There came more slaps from behind me, only a few, and when I spun my torch around, I expected to find nothing there once again. So, I screamed when I saw her, Tamsin. Only she had changed. She showed only the whites of her eyes, rolling them ever deeper into the back of her head, and her mouth was impossible. It spanned the breadth of her face and then some. It had opened beyond human limits. And, to add to that hellishness, it revealed not human teeth, but incisors of obscene length, narrow width. Each tip tapered off to the finest point, which dripped with blood. And even the canines and molars to the sides were unthinkably sharp, unthinkably capable of cleaving a creature neatly down its center. "Do you want me to stay, officer?" The thing cooed, as if playing with its food. Then it, charged towards me, and I screamed at a volume louder than my lungs were built to accommodate. Screamed as I braced for death. Screamed, and oh, time feels a little hazy between that moment, which I expected to be my last, and the moment at which the responding officers found me. They said they'd arrived in 20 minutes, but it may as well have been hours, or perhaps only seconds. But she was gone when they got there and returned power to the building. I was interrogated about the demise of my fellow officers, including the disappearance of Officer Harling, who is a suspect in the case, along with Tamsin, the mystery woman visible on CCTV footage before the blackout. "The discrepancy between your story and the truth is curious," said one interviewer. "What discrepancy?" I asked. "Well, the power to the building was undoubtedly cut," he explained. Yet, the automatic doors were standing open when backup officers arrived at the station. I felt my skin pale. Subscribe to my channel. I have a lot of scary and mystical stories. I release videos every day.